Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Spain Eddington, and I am the Assistant Director of the Undergraduate Biology program at KU. And I'm here today with Dr. Dyan Morgan to discuss her experience in biology at KU. Dr. Morgan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Dr. Morgan. I'm an associate teaching professor here in the undergraduate biology program.
So, Dr. Morgan, if you could list your top 5 favorite things, what would you include?
I'm always really awful at thinking of my favorites, but I can tell you what I've been watching and reading right now. So, right now I'm reading The Morning Side.
Okay.
And I just saw Harold and the Purple Crayon with my kids. So most of my movies these days fall in the kids category. And my husband and I have been watching a lot of Star Trek in the evenings. That's our de-stress time activity.
Dr. Morgan, what advice would you give to a KU biology student, especially students taking your courses?
I would give them the advice to think hard about their schedule for the semester. I think that it's important to make sure that you've dedicated enough time for each of your classes, also for any work that you're doing, whether it's on campus or outside of campus. Just making sure that you're really giving yourself enough time to succeed in your classes, even if that means, taking a lighter load in classes that semester.
Yeah.
Just be good to yourself and make sure that you're allocating the right amount of time for each commitment you've made that semester.
What would you tell a student who is interested in doing research in biology?
So I think probably the first piece of advice is be persistent. So sometimes it can be a challenge to find the right opportunity. So don't get discouraged if the first person says no. It may just be they don't have space in their lab right now, or they don't have funding, or something like that. So don't take it personally. I would start off by thinking about, what interests you and why, and why are you doing this? So why do you want to do research? What do you find interesting? And then going to the different departmental websites and looking at what people are doing. And as they start reaching out to professors, I'd recommend that they really write a personalized email to those professors about why that research in particular interests them. That will get the attention of the faculty members.
When you were an undergraduate student, how did you decide on your major, and what was your dream career at that time?
So I, at the time, chose the BS in biology with the cell biology focus. So I think currently that's probably most closely aligned with our MCDB major. I really liked it because I had taken cell structure and function with Dr. Supernaut at the time, and I just thought that cell biology was so cool. She was a great professor, and the topic was just really exciting to me. So I kept with that. I think there were also some classes I was trying to avoid taking at the time too, which might have driven my choice. But I won't say which ones.
That feels similar to my story too, because I did not major in microbiology to avoid biochemistry. So it's not the case now.
We all have that class, right? My dream career at that time was to become a biology professor. At the time, I thought that I'd want to have like a biology wet lab doing research. But then the more that I taught, the more I realized that was where my passion really lies. And so I wanted to spend more of my time doing that. And so this current position I'm in is really a great fit.
And did that change for you over time because of your experiences working with students?
Absolutely. So when I was in grad school, I took part in a teaching fellowship program. And was able to have more training in teaching and more experience teaching, and just realized that was so fun. And then I did a specialized postdoctoral fellowship again, where I did more teaching. And just the more I did it, the more I realized this is what I should be doing.
What is one thing you wish you knew going into your career, major, or starting research for the first time?
That's a great question. I think that going into it, I was really nervous about doing something wrong or breaking something or getting the wrong answer. And so I wish I could go back to my undergrad self and say it's okay, Dyan. Like, you're going to make mistakes, and that's normal, and that's part of the process. And you're going to feel stupid sometimes, but everyone does. Some people are just better at covering it up than others.
Right. Yep.
So just telling myself that, like, failure is okay, and really that's where you learn the most too.
What was a learning moment for you when you were a student? And was there a time you made a mistake or experienced a growing moment in your undergraduate career?
Yes. I've made many mistakes as a
Don't we all?
student. It's just a matter of thinking of which one. The one that I share a lot with my students is when I took organic chemistry my first semester, I earned a D on my first exam, which was really, like, devastating when I got that grade back. But it was definitely a moment of growth for me, because I went and I talked with my professor and I said, like, help, this is really scary. I don't know what I did wrong. Like, I thought I worked really hard.
Yeah.
And we talked through my study strategies, and, you know, she showed me that I could use my molecular modeling kit and, like, build the structures and then think through all the reactions, and that would really help. And sure enough, it did. And I came back and I earned an A on the next exam. And to me, that was this moment of realizing, like, you know, if an exam goes poorly, an assignment goes poorly, sometimes you just need to rethink your study strategy. Sometimes you just need to rethink your approach, and that it wasn't a reflection on my potential as a scientist or my abilities as a student. It was just like, I didn't know the right way to study. Some of my classmates did already. I didn't know it. So I just needed to have that conversation.
Yeah.
So it made me much more likely to, like, approach my professors and ask for help when I did experience failure.
Yeah. What advice would you give to yourself as an undergraduate student, knowing what you know now?
I would tell myself to not avoid those hard classes, to go back to take biostats, to go back and to not avoid the things just because they seemed hard, that I was capable and I needed to just go for it.
Cool. Who is someone who's made a huge impact on your life? Or do you have an inspirational person?
I don't know that I can single out, like, one person, but I would say that I had a lot of really inspirational female faculty in the sciences coming up. And many of them here at KU. So I mentioned Dr. Supernant teaching my cell biology class. And especially Dr. Barbara Showen. She was in chemistry at the time. She was that professor that sat me down in organic chemistry and said, okay, you're just studying the wrong way. You need to do it this way. And she was also directing the honors program at the time. And just, she helped push me to apply for things that I didn't think I was qualified for, that I ended up getting. And, you know, she really shaped my scientific career by kind of getting me to look and say, like, no, you are qualified for this. You are good enough. You just need to do it. Also, Dr. Vicki Corbin was my undergraduate research mentor. And again, she kind of showed me how you could balance, you know, at the time she had young kids also. So she showed this balance of motherhood and a scientific career. So I think all these female faculty in the sciences at KU were really influential in my life.
What is your favorite topic to talk to undergraduate students about?
Man, that's a tough one. So I'm not very good at answering your actual question. I like to say, here's the question I'm going to answer. So, so I think that there's a few things I like to talk to students about. One is I love to geek out about the science, right? So, like, if a student comes in after developmental biology class and wants to talk stem cells and wants to look at PubMed with me and figure out what's going on, you know, just this week that hasn't made it in the textbook, like, I love to geek out about a new topic. I like to hear about what's going on in students' lives. Like, what is it that they're doing outside the classroom? So I've had students, you know, share with me that they've got a concert coming up, or, you know, maybe they're on an athletic team and I can go and watch their game. Like, I like getting to know my students both in and outside the classroom and to support them in the ways that I can. And I like talking to students about career paths because I know that's a really kind of stressful topic for them, and one where it's like, I think students often think there's one right answer. And so I like kind of being there to be a sounding board to say, no, there's not one right answer. And there's many possibilities there for you. And you also don't have to go down one path and stay on that path. You can go down one path and then pivot and then pivot again. And who knows, what different jobs you may have by the time you retire. So I like to talk to students about that to help them see that there's not just one right path. Probably my favorite moment from undergrad was just graduating and walking down the hill. That's such a special tradition that we have here at KU.
Yeah.
And I just remember being so happy and so excited and with all my friends and seeing all these, classmates and people that I had gotten to know over the years. And we were all, just so excited walking down the hill.
Yeah.
And the other thing that always gets me is like whenever I hear the rock chalk chant, like I get goosebumps still.
Do you have any advice for students going into graduate school?
I would say that if you're considering going to graduate school, do try to get started in research as early as possible. And as you're approaching faculty members, let them know that the reason you're approaching them is that not only are you interested in their research, but that you'd like to go to graduate school in this field. I would suggest to them to, as they're applying, make sure that there's lots of faculty members at that program that are doing work that they find interesting, because they might get there and find out that, if there was one person whose work interested them, maybe that person is graduating or that person's lab is full. So doing some homework ahead of time to make sure that there are a lot of different possible labs to join.
Did you ever study abroad or do an REU program, and what was that experience like for you?
So I never studied abroad. That is probably my major regret from my undergraduate years. So I encourage our students to do that, to take advantage of that opportunity while you have it. But I did do an REU program. I took part in a summer program between my junior and senior year at Baylor College of Medicine.
Oh, cool.
And so I did research there on gene therapy techniques for breast cancer.
Oh, cool.
So it was a very fun experience. I did research most summers here at KU as well, and I served as a peer mentor for our REU program here. So I helped, the other students coming in from other universities kind of get settled in Lawrence, and so that was fun.
How did you find your REU program?
I think I did a Google search. It was not very sophisticated. But now I know that there's a website you can go to that the National Science Foundation maintains, and it has a list of all the different REU websites, and you can look at them by topic or by geographic location. And that's just the program is funded by the National Science Foundation. There are other summer programs as well. Sometimes the REU programs can have limitations around them as far as funding. They typically will fund U.S. citizens. So if you don't fall into that group, you can also look at the additional programs that might be using institution funding to fund a broader set of students.
Cool. That's awesome. I didn't know about the non-NSF REU
programs. It might be a little more difficult of a search, but there are programs out there that will fund students, that broader set of students.
Nice. How often do you collaborate with others, and what has your experience been like as a collaborator?
Okay. Well, I collaborate, on a daily basis. So I know that. So, sometimes in class I'll hear from students like they don't like doing group work and this and that. And I get that. But I also know that as a professional now, like I work with other people every single day. Pretty much every project I do, I'm working with others. So you have to get used to figuring out how to divide up work evenly, or how to divide up work according to people's strengths, how to manage deadlines together. And what was the other part of the question? What's my experience been like? mixed.
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
think that the other thing about that is like you learn who maybe is more enjoyable to collaborate with and who is not,
Yeah.
and who you might depend on more than others. So,
Yep.
and that's part of life, right? You just start to figure that out.
Yep. Finding out who you work well with and who you don't, and implementing that.
Absolutely.
Dr. Morgan, thank you so much for joining us for a brief interview today to talk about your experience at KU in undergraduate biology. And we hope that our students appreciate all of the knowledge that you've shared with us today. So thanks for being with us.
No, thanks for the invitation.